Living the Science of Mind, page 35. Desire, Opinion, and Revelation. It was John who said, and rightly, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God. Paul said, God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. Possibly he knew that our conscious opinions and our subjective desires so frequently confuse the revelations that when an alleged revelation appears, it is so distorted with conflicting opinions that much of its truth is lost. If we were to put all of the alleged revelations of the ages together, we would be amazed to find how contradictory they are. In fact, the contradictions would be so complete that practically the whole revelation would be wiped out. And this in face of the fact that each prophet claims to have received their inspiration directly from the mind of God. The confusion of such alleged revelations is so great that intelligence compels us to put up the sign, stop, look, and listen. We are amazed to discover that some of these revelations, which seem to come from God, stimulate people to commit the most atrocious crimes. For many crimes that have been committed in the name of liberty have also been committed in the name of truth. It stands to reason that the author of peace cannot inspire confusion. And God is the author of peace, since a house divided against itself cannot stand. If God stands for that which is rational, the essence of peace and poise, if the divine means love, beauty, harmony, and reason, it follows that from this divine fountain, only pure waters can flow. God could not be the author of confusion, inspiring people to acts of destruction. God could not be the author of confusion, leading people to irrational mental or spiritual conclusions. Therefore, a person who would differentiate between subjective hallucination and opinion, between desire and reality, does well to analyze their own feelings, emotions, and mental reactions. And they do well to analyze the reactions of other people, regardless of whether they are numbered among the so-called great, the little known, or even the unknown. In the pursuit of truth, one seeks to wed oneself to reason, for reason is the only mistress who can lead the soul to the altar of reality. We do not dispute the idea of revelation, since all truth is some revelation of reality to the mind of a person. We do not deny that there is a spirit which inspires and a guidance which directs. What we say is that when it seems as though this guidance directs us chaotically or counsels people to destructive acts, it is not divine guidance at all. It is some form of opinion or desire masquerading as reason, seeking to justify itself by claiming to be the voice of God. When someone tells you that they have received a revelation direct from the Almighty, you would be wise if you analyze their revelation and see whether it is really inspired by the divine or whether it is merely a rationalization of their own desire. History records many so-called revelations by which people have claimed to be directed by God to commit such atrocious crimes that sensitiveness shrinks from the fact and intelligence refuses to accept the verdict. Life cannot will death. Death is the direct opposite of life. Therefore, Jesus said, God is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Jesus, with his clear comprehension of reality, knew that life cannot will death. But many lesser prophets have proclaimed that the divine being inspired them to kill. Most nations at war, worshiping tribal gods, react from their collective unconscious with this same motivation. But whether it be an individual or a collective unconscious, the principle operating is the same. We may be certain that when Cyrus mounted his chariot and rode in front of his legions, crying, "Kill, kill, kill, and to God be the glory," after having attended the divinations of the oracle, what he was really proclaiming, but of course unconsciously, was "Kill, kill, kill, and to Cyrus be the glory." Even this barbarian shrank in horror before the terrific carnage about to take place. His desire had first to be rationalized in order that his opinion might be justified. Therefore, he had to receive, through his imagination, evidence for the belief that his killing of people was done for the glory of God and not for the glory of Cyrus. We take this instance so far removed from us personally and from our present history that we may be impersonal about it. But every day, the same performance takes place in our own consciousness. We certainly should realize that all is not revelation, which masquerades under its name. In the present day, when we are privileged to understand more about psychic reactions, history is better explained on the basis of human will to power. Today, more than ever, psychic revelations are imposed upon our consciousness through the sincerity of those receiving such messages in automatic writings, in seances, and by various other media through which such revelations come. And again, we must put up the sign: stop, look, and listen. To one who has, over a period of many years, carefully studied such apparent revelations, it is evident that too frequently these revelations are largely governed by the mental background of the one through whom they come. Generally, we find in them elements of philosophies, the religions, the social, political, and economic systems which the author has believed in or theorized over, towards which they have aspired, or in which they were born. This in no way contradicts the sincerity of those whom these messages come through. Therefore, it is not a question of condemning or criticizing the individual. It is merely a question of right judgment and a sane perspective. We certainly should believe in no revelation which contradicts the final unity, goodness, and perfection of the Supreme Being. In analyzing such revelations, we should carry them right back to the point of reason and unity. And whenever they contradict reason, we may know that they are not revelations, but hallucinations or the rationalizations of desire. They may emanate directly from the consciousness of an individual or from the conscious reactions of an entire group of people. We are told that Martin Luther saw the devil. One day, he presented himself in Luther's study. Now, what was it that this reverend gentleman saw? Not an actual devil, since intelligence compels us to admit that the devil is a mythological figure with no reality outside humanity's consciousness. What Luther saw was a personification of the then universal belief about the devil. If we could ask the average person of that period what the devil looked like, their description would be similar to what Luther saw. Strange as it may seem, what he saw was an idea, but this idea had its roots deeper than his own personal consciousness. It arose from the sum total of the opinion of his day. Everybody believed the devil looked like that. Therefore, the devil did look like that in belief. And what Luther saw was the belief personified, a picture in imagination, but of a picture of an imagination more real than his personal one, more dynamic than his individual thought. This picture was impressed upon his psyche, and in some moment when he was subjective to it, it appeared. With all sincerity, Luther may have believed that he saw an actual devil, but with equal sincerity, the person who is suffering from a hallucination believes that they see some grotesque form. It is real enough as far as the experience is concerned, but is nevertheless an illusion as far as reality is concerned. Luther and all his contemporaries believed in an actual devil, and what they believed in, he saw. Hence, seeing, he doubly believed. This is one of the reasons why many people believe that God ordains suffering, impoverishment, and unhappiness, and that God even demands murder. When we subject such a concept to the rule of reason and common sense, we soon discover that the all-creative principle could not will martyrdom, suffering, or impoverishment, for this would not be to the glory, but to the degradation of the creative principle. God would not be honored, but dishonored, not made whole, but limited. Yet, what countless thousands of sincere and well-meaning persons suffer the illusion of such a belief and actually condemn the desire for happiness in this world. The very thought of the crucifixion of Jesus has, in innumerable instances, stimulated such morbid introspection that the resurrected form of Christ is but dimly seen through the clouds of darkness and despair. Too often, the cross and the tomb overshadow the resurrection. We must not forget that when we are dealing with the psychic life of ours, we are dealing with a very tricky thing. It will just as quickly provide us with an illusion as with a reality. But deeper than this psychic life, there is a spiritual intelligence which transcends even our objective processes of reasoning, and it can distinguish between illusion and reality. Our subconscious reactions will coerce us unless we control them, will cause us to believe all kinds of fantastic things unless reason sits in judgment. Therefore, we should be careful at all times to study any alleged revelation in the light of this truth, knowing as we do that one's personal opinion may masquerade as any revelation which one's unconscious desire may order, for the entire collective thought is more or less active in all of us. One of the most prolific fields for collective hallucination, strange as it may seem, is in the field of so-called revealed religion. Accumulated acceptances of pronounced beliefs have finally created such a subjective reaction to them that people believe all sorts of things, reasonable and unreasonable. Usually, it takes a strong new belief to shatter the old. Fortunately, back of most revelations, especially the great spiritual ones, there has always been enough reality, that is, enough of the nature of truth has been revealed, not only to give vitality to the belief, but to equip it with power and give it a performance which has been good. Thus, in analyzing the great revelations, we do not need to recheck them in their entirety, but merely to recheck those parts which arise from human opinion, human desire, or psychological rationalization. We shall find that reality is at least partly revealed through most of these great systems of thought, but we shall also find a great deal of illusion. Nowhere was this more apparent than in the ancient caste system, which did not rise out of reality, since there can be no God who holds one person superior to another. It was an economic thing, and what is more natural than the dominant-minded should have rationalized their desire, and even had it seemingly revealed to them that some were of lower origin than others, and therefore were outcasts. In Psalm 82:6, we read, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you children of the Most High. In the days of slavery in America, many of our Southern brethren rationalized their belief in slavery as God's will. It could not be the will of God that some people should be free while others were bound, since God is the author of freedom and not bondage. It is interesting to note with what dynamic authority many our so-called great seers have spoken. With sincere conviction, they have proclaimed, thus saith the Lord. It was not until the advent of science that reason began to deny these theological assumptions. Science deals with facts and not with opinions, and it must reduce these facts into principles which never vary and which are always impersonal. With the advent of science, we have the beginning of the destruction of superstition. This does not mean that science will destroy religion. Nothing can do that. For true religion is humanity's immediate experience of reality. Science will merely destroy distorted beliefs, and in so doing, it will render true religion a great service, since it will reveal the nature of reality to be entirely impersonal, responsive alike to each and to all. As science proclaims the rule of reason and a government of law, new revelations come. These new revelations, even as the old, the student of truth must carefully scrutinize. They must remain the master in their own household. Unless they do so, they will be a mental puppet dancing to other people's thoughts, coerced by the ideas which have already hypnotized them. And if the blinds lead the blinds, shall they not both fall into the ditch?